flair for the start, but Lauren thought she might just get her cartwheel in there.
Watching cheer.
Excellent. So welcome to Bars and Bells episode 2, workout number 2, progressions off of our material we covered last week.
Number 1.
Number 1, including our hip extension and core foundations, which is number 1, and then our kettlebell and our bodyweight practice that we'll get into right away. So Lauren is in a little bit of a split here, middle split. The things that we want to think about here are disciplined feet that we can talk about as we go forward in the karate or the ballet gymnastics foot, extension through the knees, core stretch. We're going to start by talking today about our lumbar extension, and a lot of times computering all those things that get the bad rap, we're all hunched over, but having that nice extension to the T-spine, rib cage, L-spine, back, low back, very important for their success. So this is our very, very quick exploration split. I love rib rolls from here. Anything else you want to do? Rib rolls.
You should be in your split right now, by the way.
Get in your split. This is a follow along.
Just as long as it's your split. Don't worry about our split.
Yeah.
It's
not like it's a middle split by anyone's exceptional standards.
Okay.
So as we said there, we start by talking about that L spine. So Lauren will first demonstrate quadruped or all fours position here. And just quickly, if we're on our wrists, this wrist position, extension of the wrist, not necessarily easy. So you just want to talk to that and make sure that that's okay. Going up against the wall in that wrist extension might be an appropriate place to start if your wrists are a little bit cranky there. But wrist maintenance becomes super important for our hand balancing things like handstands, which we hope to get into as well.
We'll talk about
so this is a nice little circular drill, just in that wrist extension, more interested in a little bit of that body roll. We'll talk to that a little bit more seriously going forward. To switch your wrist extension from the other position then, turn your fingers towards your knees. And here, she's going to take her index fingers and just press index fingers heavy in the floor, and then do the same thing with the middle, then the same thing with the ring, and the same thing with the pinky, and then do all 8 plus the thumbs, and just create tension. And that again will prepare the wrist to take some stresses like yoga balances and as well our handstands. So that's going to be a basic wrist maintenance hygiene issue for us going forward. So now more urgently specific to the low back, our cat-cow extension. So Lauren right now is going to stay nice and extended through here as demonstrated by this straight line. And if we just ask her to perform 1 repetition, she'll get into her low back extension. It's not a straight shape, but that idea of that extension. And pulling on her abdominals, that's a great looking repetition there. She's working real hard through the core. Returning to a flex spine. She's about at neutral. She might try a little bit more. Maybe that's her safe max, which is great. And then very gently relax that tension and go back into your extension. Okay, you can see how her upper back is staying same. She's probably pulling face right now because she's trying that hard. She's just going to be nice and chill about this, nice and relaxed. So pulling on those abdominals, flexing the lumbar spine, breathing into that, and then gently into the extension.
I'm shaky.
Okay, she's working real hard. Her hands are screwed in. She's creating tension between her body and the floor. And that again would be a nice hallmark of our wrist extension, and then into our low back quadruped extension and flexion. Very cool. So she'll kneel tall and just give her hands a little bit of a break. And then from that position, to get into those adductors for splits and for things like squats, which we'll get into just shortly here, we're going to get into the prone, laying front down, frog. And our friends in Europe who we go to visit and they train with us, they call this the happy face frog. You might want to map it. It's not super friendly on knees in regards to the hardness of the floor, so Lauren's going to get a mat right here. From that position, she'll get onto her elbows. She has that low back extension shape right now, which is great. If she, for 1 repetition, could turtle out, so that's wonderful. So turtle that out as to round. Very useful spine position, just not for this drill going forward. Do that once, check in with that, then gently get yourself into that extension pose, which is that one that she's showing right there with her shoulder blades down. At this point, Lauren's going to gently hinge back, forward, back, whichever direction, there we go, to the back. Making sure that tailbone again stays nice and long, okay? If we get to this position and we're in a less than desirable position, the flexion of the spine would round and then it would fall off. But we don't want that. So we're back into our extension. Stay there as much as you can. Then come forward, because that tension could build very, very intensely between groin, adductors, knees, hips, things. Then for just a couple more, super slowly, she's going to gently get into that. If it's taking your breath away, you're trying too hard. If you can breathe over top of that, you're doing just right. To come back. And last one before
Maybe we should try it.
one more repetition, modify those knee positions for sure.
Noticing my shins are in line with my knees and my feet are in dorsiflexion.
Turned out and flex to the shins. So breathing in this repetition, she might be able to get a little bit deeper each repetition that she executes here. It's not the goal to get to the floor, it's just to find that nice safe spot for you to pursue our squat in. Okay? And very, very slow, she'll pull her legs together just very, very gently, slurping out of that, rolling over her back, and then Lauren will perform our hip extension.
The magic of
In our hip extension,
disappears.
press those feet. So single foot at a time, just really quick. Very loose tension between one foot and the floor. Great. Press this foot heavy into the floor. Does that fire your bum cheek? Does that turn on your hip flexor? Do you feel it in your toe? We hope that you can connect your big foot to your big butt cheek in a hip extension. Wonderful. And then relax. And the same thing on the other side. Just very lightly at first, and then build that tension as we go forward. Good. Crushing the glute, hip extension through. She's breathing, touching it, saying, hey, work for me here. For a more classic hip extension now.
Hey, work for me here.
That's good.
I know, I was getting this out so you can see my beautiful face.
Okay, don't hide behind the bell there. I
No.
think you're still behind the bell, truthfully, but that's okay. So here, we're gonna have our hip extension now, where we're trying to create that straight line from our shoulder through our hip and to our knees. Hold it for a breath, hold it for a couple seconds, cramp up, and then Lauren will articulate or roll through the spine, keeping the hips in extension the whole time. And again, we said that shake will get in where your body is asking for that tension stability the most. It will shake in the core, you'll feel it in the glutes. You find a place to make it the most challenging for you. And rest for a second. And then same thing one more time here in that nice hip extension. Cramp the glutes. She's still breathing. Do little check-ins, making sure we're nice and tight. And then keep the hips up as your upper back rolls down to the floor. Just nice and controlled. Okay, so those two exercises for today comprise our little squat warm-up, little frog, say hey to the hips, and our core brace hip extension is how we get up out of the squat. Okay. The second exercise that we'll get into from the floor right now is now our firing range position. And Lauren, just watch this repetition. We're going to grab a kettlebell. Where do you like to hold the kettlebell? We like to hold our kettlebell with our neutral wrist. Not a wrist in extension. Neutral wrist. So from here, Lauren will get into her firing range position with a little press. Okay. The shoulder again is going to be packed down. The wrist is going to be nice and sturdy. She's locked out. She's braced. Holding that position for a duration of about 30 seconds, which we'll call about 10 seconds more here. And just build that awareness. If you're shrugging, we need that to be down. 2 more seconds. And go 2 hands on. Pull it back to that firing range. Then return to the floor in our cuddle. Feet over the bell always. Feet over the bell always. Turn around. Same thing. So we'll be in our cuddle here. We have pat shoulder right away. Cuddle to press. Slowly take that hand away as you feel appropriate. Is your shoulder shrugging? If it is, we're going to ask to build that awareness between your armpit or your lat and the rib cage here to keep things down. Is your wrist in extension? We want nice straight lines through the elbow and the wrist coming from the shoulder. And for about 5 more seconds here, breathe, breathe, breathe. Cool. I can finish strong. So I get 2 hands back on the bell. I'm going to pull it like Lauren just did there to her hip and follow high cuddle. Now I'm going to pass the torch to Lauren, or club here to Lauren.
Torch.
That movement is a nice foundation for building our Turkish gut. We can hold the club different ways. Lauren's going to hold it up like that first, And slightly different wrist position, but her objective now is to keep that club facing up the whole time as she executes this movement called the get up. Go for it. Hip drive, tall sit, sweeping through, vertical arm, windmill, find the lunge position, tension, up and down. Crushing it. As we said there in the firing range, find that relationship with your armpit and lat, and then shake it. Okay? So, we're up. We're in our squats. We're doing 2 variations on our squat today, and more as an exploration than as a repetition scheme. We're going to work on our single leg squat first. We'll call this one our flamingo.
Flamingo. So please pick a leg. Good. We're going to keep this knee higher than this knee all of the time, and our belt level the whole time. So Ian's standing on a single leg. He's not going to do that. That's yucky. Hips are going to go back to start, like you're sitting in your imaginary chair. Both hips reaching back to find imaginary chair. This stays high, and then standing up, driving hip. When your models move. Driving hips through, squeezing butt. Try it again. Sit back, gripping the floor with toes, heels down, standing up, driving hip through, butt squeezes, core brace. One more time for 3 on the right leg. Oh, posterior view. Sitting back, look at that nice level belt. Oh, he's doing a pistol squat.
Oops, did I go too far?
You should show them that facing the camera. Okay, switch legs. So that was about 3, let's do the other leg. Stand up tall.
This is my hard leg.
Okay, well, give them the other view.
Okay.
So, sitting straight back. Good. If you're checking yourself out in a mirror at home, can you turn and face them? If you're checking yourself out, hips going straight back. Nice. Knee is in line with index-ish toe. Standing all the way up tall. Good. Number 3 on the second leg. Sit back. Oh, here's his pistol squat. Can he get up? Huh. Of course he can. Yay.
How did you shake it out?
Okay, 2-legged squats.
We'll both do versions of these. As you can see, we're a little bit different heights. Her hips are Lauren's hips, my hips are my hips. Her knee, it's going to be different. The themes we explore here will be consistent across your double-footed, 2-footed squat exploration. Lauren is in her squat stance. I'm in mine. For 3 repetitions.
Are you in yours?
I'm in yours. I like placing my hands on the insides of my knees as we start exploring our squat, cueing that I want you to pull the knees apart.
I like holding my prop.
Hold your prop. At the top, take a breath. Slowly pulling yourself down. How low should I go? As low as safely comfortable. Whoa. Take a breath.
That wasn't planned.
Slowly pull down. This would be good load for me. This is too low for me. Where we can keep that lumbar shape in extension.
Like our frog.
Like the frog. One more time, same thing. Nice and slow. And then up. And again, something that's loose. So I'm going to switch roles here.
Oh, here's the torch.
I'm going to do my Turkish get up. If we start in this position, we can call it a rack. Now, I'm going to keep the club up and keep my wrist neutral.
This could be a club, this could be a ball, this could be a yoga block, this could be a shoe, your cat.
Except you couldn't be your cat, you'd be allergic to that.
Yeah, not a cat for me. Very allergic.
Catch.
Whoa, 19,900 flying through the air.
Okay, so here I am,
1900.
my firing range.
2 hands, cuddle. 2-handed press. Good. Ian, you breathe and pay attention. We're going to do this for 10 seconds here. So, shoulders packed, wrist is nice and neutral, nice straight line from wrist to elbow to shoulder.